I started mine at age 5. At age 5, my first trauma was that I remember I was...
At about 4 years old, my dad had an explosion in his gas station and was in the hospital and for about a year or more.
Walk over to a spot on this timeline where you still feel, from the timeline work you're doing, some unfinished something you want to say, where you feel shut down, where you feel numb, where you feel you've gone underground and you're still working it through. Just stand up and walk over and stand in that spot, please. That's perfect. It's good for... Perfect. You may just have a sense that this is a shutdown area for you. What you'll notice about this is that people are sociometrically aligned according to age. The 1-year-olds are near each other. The adolescents are near each other. The young adults are near each other. So talk to the people who are near you in age about why you're standing where you're standing. This is a sort of a developmental way to use it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So when I was around 5 years old, I started to notice that my parents were coming into school a lot and talking a lot to my teachers about my learning problems. And at 7 years old, I was a lot of testing was done to me, like 14 hours of testing, I remember, and I was put on medication for ADHD and dyslexia and went to a special school. And that feeling, I think, of inadequacy and feeling like I'm not good enough and everybody else can go to school and not take medication, and why am I the person that's taking medication in this school, and all those things really triggered.
But you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I heard a flutter in your heart.
Sure.
When you were talking about why do the others not have to take medication.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk to yourself at that age?
Sure.
Okay. Look around the room, take your time,
Okay.
and choose someone to play yourself at that age. Okay, what would you want to say to young Caroline? From the adults, Caroline.
Okay. You're smart.
Reverse roles?
Do I have to stand over here then?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's actual physical. Give her last line. You're smart.
You're smart. Do you want me to respond?
Respond as that child. We're bringing the then and there into the here and now. And we're responding as that child.
Yeah. Okay. Then why am I at this school?
I don't understand why I don't feel I must not be smart. I'm too young to know if I'm smart or not, but I'm put in a situation where it seems obvious to me I'm not, and everybody's treating me like I'm a special case. Correct that if it's wrong.
No, that's right.
Okay, do you want to take a step behind yourself and double for yourself? And even double what's going on the inside that doesn't get said from here.
That I'm defective, that there's something wrong with me.
A couple more sentences?
Yeah, so there's something wrong with me and I'm defective, and clearly if everybody in my life is worried about me and I had to go through all this testing and all these medications and things like that, then there's something wrong. I'm inadequate.
And I don't really know what it is. Correct that if it's wrong?
And I don't really, yeah, that's right. I don't really know what it is. I don't really know what's wrong, but there's something wrong.
So I just know something's wrong with me, but I don't know what it is, and I'm supposed to take pills to fix it and go to school to fix it, but I don't know what's wrong with me.
I have to take all of these medications, and so clearly I'm not smart.
Reverse roles. And just give her last line.
I have to take all these medications, and clearly I'm not smart.
Now from the adult to the child.
Do I say just her last line or what I heard her saying?
You say the point of clarification is, do I say just her last line or what I heard her saying before? I go with the last line because I try to have as little interpretation from the role players as possible, not because a good role player isn't an incredibly good interpreter. We don't want the role player to get so creative that this person in this vulnerable moment is stuck taking care of the role player and all the things they think are going on. And that often happens in psychodrama, and that's just the thing that happens in trauma resolution. Now, if I know you well and I know your role playing is good, I might back up and let you practically run the drama, and I'll just keep, because the role player then ends up doing a lot of the work effectively. But I try to minimize the ability of the role player to make up. Though your interpretation is probably great, but do you see, are you with me? What we're doing here is getting the dialogue going between the adult self and the child self. Not only does it break relationally out there, it breaks relationally in here. This is the person we want to really connect with, ourselves. Ourselves at any given age. Because when we're traumatized, we disconnect. We don't like this person anymore. We're embarrassed about them or whatever. We want to shove them down. And when they speak up inside of us, we don't want to let them. So we want to create a good relationship here, so that when the adult gets triggered and regresses to this point, right, with their spouse or their workplace or something, they don't behave from this point. They don't get triggered and talk to the world or talk to their spouse from this wounded inner child place and wonder why things aren't working out for them. We need to get this connection going so this wounded part of the self is talking to the adult part of the self first. And she can translate this wounded self into adult language, and you talk to the world representing this kid. This little kid is going to give you a lot of information, but she needs you first to help her right-size her reaction, because trauma dysregulates us emotionally. We get dysregulated. We go from 0 to 10 and 10 to 0, no speed bumps. Woo, woo, woo. We get triggered, we go zoop. And we have trouble living in 4, 5, and 6. The regulator is the mature adult mind, one of the main regulators. So when this gal gets triggered, this little inner girl, this person's going to come in, listen and console and help regulate, translate, get information from here, figure out what to just soothe in this person, what to grow up in this person, what to listen to in this person. So they're not just acting from here. And hoping the world gets them. There you go. Okay. Take it from here.
Okay. Well, as it turns out, there's been a lot of changes in the education field since you were little. And there's actually multiple different types of intelligences now. And society has really taken children and put them into this one box, and you never fit into that box, and that's okay. So you have to take medication because you didn't fit into this societal box, and you have there's different ways that you're intelligent.
Tell her what they are.
Yeah, well, you're actually really good at spatial things. So reading was always a challenge, and so was math, but the visual spatial things, along with learning in a tactile way, learning from that, and auditorily learning, you're very good at learning through auditory.
Okay. Anything else you want to say to her?
Yeah, that basically those feelings of inadequacy and that you're not smart are actually going to make you a lot stronger and have a thicker skin. And not even a thicker skin, but just learn a lot, and it's a great opportunity to grow in that space.
So tell her why that made you a much more resilient person.
Resiliency, that's what I meant. Yeah, it made me a lot more resilient because when I faced challenges later in life, I faced this big challenge when I was between 5 and 7 that later it's very much you can look back and say, I went through this, and now I can go through this. Yeah.
Yeah, you developed a lot of grit and stick-to-itiveness. You learned you could master something really tough.
Yeah.
Correct that if it's wrong?
That's right.
Okay. So, is that the last to this part of you for now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let's go back on our timeline.
Sure. So a lot of feeling like I wasn't, that I didn't fit in to the group and to like the society. So when I was introduced to alcohol at age 14 and marijuana, I really clung to it because I felt like this is it, and I figured it out, and this is how I can be in this society and function properly and not feel like I'm not good enough anymore. And I felt good enough when I was on those things. And so self-medicating came very easily because at the age of 7, I was told that if you're not good enough, if you take this medication, you will become good enough. So now I'm introduced to alcohol and drugs, and I find out, turns out that you could do these things and be good enough with your peers.
Yeah, not only did it make me feel better, just like it did when I was a kid, it improved me, it got me a whole bunch of friends.
Yeah.
Correct that if it's wrong?
No, that's right.
Okay.
And I had very little friends when I was that girl.
So alcohol and drugs were a real solution.
Exactly.
Do you want to talk to that part of you, or is that part pretty worked through?
It's pretty worked through.
Yeah, I
But I can
sense
still,
that too.
yeah.
Anywhere else you want to talk that you feel?
I mean, it's up to you. Do you want me to keep talking?
Actually, it's up to you. Because you're the protagonist. So you've got your foot on the gas pedal.
Right.
If you want to put it down, you put it down, and it's up to me to help you explore whatever you want to explore. But it's up to you to tell me what you want to explore.
Yeah, I'll explore one more thing.
Okay.
I think that I ended up getting into a DUI, and I got sober when I was 19. And when I was 20, I really struggled in sobriety, hit like a pretty intense bottom in sobriety. So I can talk to that
Look
person.
around the room.
Okay.
And by the way, in psychodrama, it's gender neutral. You can choose a man, a woman. You can choose more than one people to play a role. It's up to you. Have fun.
Okay. I will choose you, if you're cool with that. Hey.
Reverse roles.
Okay. Sorry.
Hey.
Hey.
Oh. Hey. Start talking? All right. So I'm here, I'm in sobriety, and I don't want to be here anymore.
So, because trauma is in the body, I'm paying attention to you going to the shiver that went through there. So let's, it's still going on, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Just let it happen.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's your body letting it go.
Yeah.
It's stored in your body. So
Yeah.
your body needs to let it go.
Yeah.
You made a good choice as to where to talk to yourself. Any more shivers want to happen?
No, but I just do want to say that I'm surprised that I picked this part. And clearly there's something going on, but I didn't know that there was something going on.
That's a really good
It's really interesting.
teaching point because that's what happens.
But the
when-
timeline really helped too, because I put in all these things
Yeah.
at this one time in my life that I never thought was a challenge in my life.
Exactly. So you learned something by putting it in the timeline where your work was concentrated that you weren't aware of before. And did you learn anything about where there wasn't trauma?
Yeah. And I also, like 11 years old, it's so, all these things happen, and it's just fascinating, because I never noticed that.
Yeah.
That was an age where a lot of things happened.
A lot of things, good, bad, and different.
Yeah, exactly.
All
Good-
sorts of
all sorts of things.
all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So interesting. You learned
In a small period of time.
in a small period of time, and you thought they were stretched out over a longer period of
Yeah, I
time.
guess so.
Yeah, but you-
I also just never really thought about a lot of the things that I wrote down.
Yeah, it's interesting. So what do you want to say from this part of yourself that's surprising you today?
It's just really hard to be sober and isolate.
So I'm feeling a somatic double. I'm feeling in my body. I'm picking up something in here and on the shoulder. Is there
Yeah.
and in here in the
Yeah.
throat? So what's going on in here? That's
I guess like anxiety. I'm standing in front of all these people. There's a camera. I mean, it's that and not wanting to get vulnerable in front of people and trying to hold in emotions and all that
Okay.
good stuff.
Well, that's just up to you. Holding it in is your choice. Letting it out is your choice.
Yeah,
Do you think it's okay once you've said it, what it is, to let out a little more?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you want to say?
So, yeah, basically I don't want to be here, and I don't really want to be sober, and it's not that I don't want to be sober and I don't want to be drunk. I don't want to be either one of those things. I just don't really want to be living in this life.
So I'm really opening up to you about something that I wanted to give up here. Is that correct? That
Yeah,
it's wrong.
exactly.
I had it. I'm 21. I've sort of had it.
Yeah.
Let that feeling come up. I see it in your eyes. You know, let the tears come if they want to. Just let them come. The less you fight it, the more the healing comes. This is a hard place for me to visit. Correct that if it's wrong?
That's right.
This is a hard place for me to visit because it makes me feel that in? Fill that in?
Yeah, it makes me feel vulnerable, and it makes me feel like a failure.
And I feel like a failure here because
I'm sober, and I went to rehab, and I got all this amazing treatment, and I'm going to all these meetings, and I'm meeting with a sponsor, and nothing's really changing.
a little more on nothing. Because nothing's changing, I feel like
Powerless and empty and lonely and tired and exhausted.
and I'm just feeling all the stuff that I drank over and smoked weed over.
Yeah.
And it's all coming up now, but I don't have any of my medicators. And I'm okay. Do you want to step back and put your own words on it so I can stop being,
Sure.
you know, so
Yeah,
needly?
no, yeah. My own words. Yeah, that you know, there's this really, when you're sober, you feel like you got off drugs and alcohol, and here you are, and you know, this is the solution, but you're really left with this problem. That drugs and alcohol were the solution, and that you're the problem. So it's hard because you try and take inventory. Why am I feeling this way? Is it because I'm not going to meetings? Is it because I'm not doing this? Is it because I'm not doing that? And that really, it is these. Having the insight now, it was these years that had to do with it. Not that you're not going to enough meetings, or that you're not meeting with your sponsor, that you're not praying enough, or that you're not doing these things. So
something got cleared
role.
up.
Yeah.
Huh? Okay. Do you want to come back here and
Sure.
then reverse?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Give her last line. And do we have a box of Kleenex anywhere floating around? Okay. Oh, thank you. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's really all these years. So it's really all these years that have led me to where I am now. It's not me.
And as much as just the teaching point, you can sink into that place that she was in and be that person. It really helps her feel less cut off from this part of herself. To have the courage in this role that she had.
So it's not me, and I don't have to judge myself, and I don't have to be perfect.
May I?
Okay.
Not to the solution. Be where she was, to the vulnerable, heart-wrenching moment. The solution's going to be over here. The role you're holding is that very disillusioned, rather desperate young woman. So just one or two sentences from there. It's not so much what you say, but how you feel.
So I'm so confused how I got here, and I don't know what to do.
There you go.
And I'm afraid, and I'm scared. Yeah. Do I go back or do I go forward?
That a girl. Thank you so much.
It's okay not to know where this is all coming from. That's okay. And it's going to be okay.
Keep talking. I think you're making her feel better. You're soothing this young woman inside of you.
You know, soon enough, you're going to be able to help other people and talk to them about how hard it was to be in early sobriety and to not really want to live anymore and what that's like. So you're going to get to soon enough experience what it's like to help others and talk to them about how hard it was for you. And That's a beautiful thing. And you don't have to know why you're in this place. That's not something that you need to know. And knowing why you're in this place might not even help that much, just to kind of get through it. Trudge the path to happy destiny.
And there's I'm having a little bit of a somatic double right in here. Did something, little flutter happen in there?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good flutter, right? Did it let something up?
Yeah.
Can you put words on that flutter? There?
Yeah. It's like just really relieving to talk from the place that I'm in now. And it just feels like I'm giving this person a lot of relief, if that makes sense. I think that's the flutter, is this relief.
This relief I'm giving you. The relief I'm giving you because?
Because I'm permission giving. I'm giving you permission.
To
feel what you're feeling.
Say it again, because that's it.
I'm giving you permission to feel what you're feeling.
And I'm listening to you.
And I'm listening to you.
And I'm looking at you. I'm not cutting you off. I'm not medicating you. I'm helping you right-size that overwhelming feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You're just slowing it down and being here with you, and not abandoning you when you feel it, and reaching out and getting a little support. We're in this together.
Exactly.
Say it, yeah.
We're in this together. And I'm not trying to medicate you or push you down or not have you feel the way that you're feeling and put on a happy face, talk about the solution. I want to listen to what you have to say.
Because that is a solution. The solution's embedded in that.
Yeah.
And we both know that now. We both see that together.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you so much. And so do you want to continue, or is that...
No, I think that's great.
That's good for now. You'd probably don't. You look young. You don't have too much further to go.
I'm 26, so that was only 5 years ago.
What a gutsy girl. 26. Good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this takes...
Do you want this now?
I
or you want me to keep talking?
No, you can... How should we end this nicely for you?
I can process about what it was like. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, give a few sentences and then that'll be it.
Yeah, unless you have another suggestion.
I like your idea.
Okay. Yeah, so clearly I've done a lot of work in therapy, and writing down that timeline was really interesting for me because, again, I just really did not recognize that around age 11 there was a lot of stuff that happened. The whole when Lori looked at me and said, "You are smart," that was a really intense moment for me. Because I forgot about how stupid I felt when I was a kid. Like, it really brought back this, like, intense feelings of feeling, like, dumb, you know? So that was super powerful. And, yeah, like, I just never really, you asked me, do you want to keep on going? And I figured, sure, I'll be the guinea pig, I can do this, I can talk about this stuff. So I don't know why I chose 20, I just did. And I remember going through a really hard time when I was 20, but I don't remember it being too hard. But somebody mentioned suicide, I think you did, and it really brought me back to this point in my life. And I guess that's kind of why I chose that age, is because I was thinking about when was I ever suicidal. So it just feels like this whole process has just been really, really powerful. Because I haven't thought about my 20-year-old self, because it was 5 years ago, in the way that I've thought about my 7-year-old self. So.
How amazing that you're 26 and you already are doing all this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So let's do some sharing and then some Q&A. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay. So we'll pass this around, and here's how you share in psychodrama. The role players de-roll. Whoever played a role de-rolls by saying, "Hi, I'm Lori. I'm not your child self. When I'm playing your child self, I felt this," and then de-roll, and say, "From my own life, this is what your drama brought up from me." Okay? It's very specific. And this is the important part, because this is in the addictions field. We are used to feedback. That's not how we share in psychodrama and experiential work and in this model. You share what came up for you from your own life. Because when somebody's been this vulnerable, you want to let them know you were there, right? You want to open up and let them know that you saw them. And so you share, you de-roll and you share from what happened in your own life. But it's not feedback. It's not, "You did a great job. I saw you really grow. I was scared when you this. I did this." It's not feedback. Okay? Okay.
I'm Lori. When I was your child, I felt like you were really trying to comfort me, and I felt safe with you. When I was on the other side, I felt like I wanted to... I heard you say at one point, "I feel desperate," and I heard all those feelings, and I could identify with that. Not about the same issue, but just that I'm hearing a child who wanted to be taken care of, and so I just wanted to hold that space and be caretaking for you. But I could identify when you said the word desperate, and that's why I asked you the question, because I wanted to share that back, because that word hit me. Mm-hmm. So, it just...
From my own life, that word triggered?
From my own life, that word triggered feeling helpless, or feeling like I didn't know what to do, or I didn't know where to turn, and feeling desperate, feeling stuck in the same age in my own life. You know, what do I do about this? Nobody has the answers. Nobody's giving me the reasons, so I could identify with that.
Okay, thank you.
So I was your 20-something, 20. I think most significantly when you were in the role of that 20-year-old, in despair and struggling, it resonated with me of a place of feeling lost, and I wanted to tell you to breathe, and I wanted to tell you it was going to be okay, and then that's where you went when I was you on the other side, and that was comforting and relieving to know, and I wish in my personal experience that someone had said to me, "It's going to be okay, and you're going to get past it because look where you've come up until now. Look what you've been able to overcome." And it really struck a chord for what it triggered something for me, similar age range, and really just feeling lost and not knowing where to go and not feeling like I had the support or the answer.
The sharing is so important. And one of the errors in psychodrama is not enough sharing. You want your groups to go off feeling lifted and healed. Make this part really long. This much warm-up, this much action, this much sharing. Okay, so now let's just share about, those are our role players for the morning, right? Did we have other role players? I don't think so. So now let's just share, it's been a big morning. Share what this drama brought up for you with our protagonist, or just share what came up for you this morning. Pass the talking stick around.
I found myself really like absorbing and being a sponge for all the energy that was out there. I welled up several times, a little bit like, what's this about? And I found myself really going back to a place where I felt like there was absolutely no one, absolutely nothing, absolutely no purpose, and I would just remember wanting to be comforted. I wanted to give you a hug. And then just reflecting, like, that's what I needed when I was going through that. Like, I'm doing this right now as I'm talking about it, choking. But I felt really connected to you, especially in your 20-year-old self.
sharing from your own life with her. It's really okay to this is your moment to share from your own life. You can be self-absorbed. It's the right thing. Don't worry about it. You don't have to be a good caretaker. This is for you. This is for the groups, for your continued healing. She's healing just hearing from you, and she's been doing work. But the way you deal with what got brought up from you is by sharing it. And it can be specific.
For a long period of time, I felt like I was unlovable. And I made a lot of very, very irresponsible decisions. College was just a shit show. Really did not like myself at all. That came out a lot in some of my intimate relationships. And I just needed something. For a long time, I felt it was someone, but I needed something that eventually I got within, and that was acceptance, because because if I was unlovable, I wasn't loving myself. And that's why there was no point to anything at all. And for me, that came later, and that also came through my own work. But it's just, you're going to make it through. Which is what I ended up doing, and still continue, because I'm still doing my own work, but I still continue doing.
Carolyn, I could really relate to your 20-year-old self. I got sober at 20, and my whole first year, whenever I raised my hand, I cried. But at a certain point, I was really desperate, and I saw a psychiatrist, and I was put on antidepressants. And that was, I was really desperate to reach that point, because it segued with my deepest fear. My father was schizophrenic, and I thought, I aligned going to a psychiatrist with, okay, here starts the downward spiral. I'm just going down the tubes. I'm following in his footsteps. But I was so desperate, I needed help, and I went. And I wasn't to know that it was only going to be 6 months I was on antidepressants. I wasn't to know that that was going to pass. My second year, I didn't raise my hand every time and cry. And I'm just grateful for that, the rooms supported me and my therapist supported me. But that was definitely a very scary time in my life. And, even now at 53, 31 years sober, as you were sharing it, stuff got, stirred up a little bit there, So I could relate, and I thank you for the courage to come forward and do your work. Thanks.
I didn't really start my recovery until my late 20s, and I used looking good and having a good life, what looked like on the outside like a good life, all through my 20s. And so that whole process of the mourning and the grieving and the shock of it started for me much later. And now I'm 52, and I've done this timeline probably 3 or 4 times over the last 10 years, and each time it's different, the place where I need to go to. This morning I went to before I was born and was looking at my parents' trauma that I inherited. But what your work brought up for me was how miserable I was during my 20s underneath, but I didn't quite know it. Just the grief of, I haven't, even at this late stage, revisited that period in meaningful enough a way. And it really warmed me up to how much pain I was in, and just struggling to make it look okay, hold myself together. So, thank you.
I always share with people today that I would have been diagnosed with ADHD, but they didn't do that back then. And I was told I had ants in my pants, and me and my best friend at the time got kicked out of Daisy or whatever it was, Brownies, but before that, because of behavior. And she got put into a special school. I moved, and she got put into the special class in the school, but at that time there was nowhere for those type of kids. And it was just with kids, that had more, they had I'm not even sure what you would call it, special ed, but, they had helmets, and I actually moved out, and I didn't have to go through that as she did. And there was still never an answer for it, you know. And I guess to see what you went through made me realize that I didn't have to go through that. Even though I still didn't feel I did feel there was something wrong, or that's what I shared before about shame. There was a lot of shame, but I didn't have to go through all the diagnosing and the medication and all that stuff. And to see what my friend had to go through and how she had a much harder life, although I'm in recovery myself, and, I went towards a lot of the self-medicating, but I didn't realize that until you did that. And, I realized that was a big part of my life, so thank you.
Hi, my name is Liz. I want to thank you for your sharing. It was beautiful. Your story brought me back to 3 points. The younger age reminded me of I'm a stutterer, or a person with a stutter. And it reminded me of being diagnosed as something and the world seeing me just that way, and not seeing me or loving me or saying that it's okay that I am the way I am. So I really related to that piece of feeling like I didn't fit in, and had that being confirmed to me. You don't fit in and you have to change. And how confusing that was at age 5 and 6, 7, and older. The other one, the teen, is that I did not choose drugs and alcohol. I chose caring for others. So at 14, I started to work with folks with terminal illnesses in hospices. And I did it for 15 years. And I got affirmation from others that I was okay because I could care for others. So that was beautiful, but worked in a different way about, like, how can I get someone else to tell me I'm okay? What group can I go to? And then when you talked about the older part of you in recovery and how painful that was, or I heard that as painful, that when I went into emotional recovery, it was more painful. I felt so vulnerable, and I was learning my own, get to have my own boundaries and self-love in life, but I felt horrible for 2 years, and I didn't understand it. I was doing all the recovery work, I was doing all the therapy, but I felt miserable because I was so vulnerable to that change. I really related to that experience, and I felt warmed from hearing that. Like, I felt joined. So thank you for that.
So many things, but first, thank you for your vulnerability. What it brought up in me is my difficulty in being vulnerable, and to have the outward appearance that I'm good, like everything's good, I'm in control, and nobody's going to get close to me, and that is how I viewed you, which is, I saw before today a lot of me in you, which is, and then when you shared, like, we have just started working together. There are 4 of us, 5 of us in here, 6 of us maybe. When you shared, it kind of gave me permission to be vulnerable, because I'm fearful of that, not knowing anyone, and that I may be judged for that, and be seen as not capable of doing my job, because of the weaknesses that I have. So thank you for your courage, and you did make me cry. So I was like, yes. So that's it. Thank you.
One of the very first things I wrote down was kindergarten, age 5, and realizing that I just couldn't keep up with the class. So I related to that experience, and kind of just, when you said you're smart, I automatically felt very triggered by that, because that's the one thing that stood out, that feeling of I'm stupid. I'm just dumb. So I totally related to that. And thank you for your courage.
I'm aware that my feeling all through school was, and after, was very so similar of feeling stupid, feeling less than, feeling inadequate. And it wasn't diagnosed because I did a really good job hiding it. And I'm thinking of the work that, what you had said initially, how this theme of hiding is happening even today. I just felt like during the break, I felt myself pull in and withdraw. Didn't really want to talk with anybody. In fact, I just wanted to, go to the restroom and be by myself, which shocked me because I thought, no, I'm not like that. I'm social, I'm friendly. Didn't feel that way. Not having a diagnosis of whatever the learning disability was had the benefit of building up a driver in me that got me where I am today, of just working my butt off to prove that I'm equal to and that I'm okay and smart enough. So when I heard you're smart enough, it was kind of like, yeah. It went in one ear and out the other. And there's a part of me that really knows I'm smart enough and equal to, but that other part of me still lives and fights needing to learn more, study more, read more, go to more workshops. That I'm, got to get fill that empty void. There was something else that basically the feelings that were denied were stuffed by an eating disorder. And it wasn't until I think that I was recognized at some point of my work along all these years, and I finally felt smart enough that I could finally stop using food to stuff the feelings. It's I'm in process. Food is not an object. Being driven is still there. That's the replaced addiction, I guess, a pattern.
I got sober at 36, and my history before that, Catholic schools, 12 years, blah, 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 blah. But then I'd gone underground and was on the run from the government, been in jail a few times, and all this, then got sober. And I can remember that time of thinking, because of course all the repressed stuff's popping like microwave popcorn, and it's just going on and on and on. And I remember thinking, I don't know if this is what you said, but this is what I heard in my filter of, like, if I go to more meetings, if I talk to my sponsor more, if I eat better, if I get off of caffeine, if I get on caffeine, if I just do this, if I do that, if I do this, so I do that. And just thinking that even though I had it and I had wonderful models, that if I could just figure it out, it would just be better and I could get rid of that deep, 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 deep pain. So it was powerful, and I want to thank you, because when the couple of things that really got me, one was when you were telling your wounded child that everything was going to be okay. And even though I'm 63 now, I need to remember that down the road there's going to be a woman going, "Don't worry, Cindy, everything's going to be okay," And the other thing is when you're standing in that pain, that which you showed me and reminded me, and that deep part of me was that I don't have to do anything. I just have to be. I just have to be quiet. I just have to be. And just lately, something I was reading, the word existential courage was, and I thought of that when you were doing your work. And thank you. Thank you.
I'm Lilit. I was also very touched, and it reminded me of my own experience and just how adults can be wrong or abusive or put a child in harm's way. So it brought up a lot of anger, but what I loved was a transition into resiliency and turning it into strength, and to move through anger into other emotions and finding resiliency. So I appreciate that, and thank you.
Mine was just I was connecting with you being up there and wanting to sit down while you were up there. I could see, it looked like I think you were turning red at one point, and I can connect that, of turning red in front of all the people, and almost feeling kind of embarrassed that, why did I volunteer to do this? And so to be able to see you go through that transformation of that, and then I think you went back to the adult self, or you doubled and then you went back to the adult self, and you were still fidgeting before you went to the adult self, but then when you got to the adult self, you stopped fidgeting a little bit. And I felt like, wow, okay, she's gone through that transition, that transformation, and to have seen that was pretty amazing, and to experience that. So thank you for that. And so I was thinking of myself when I used to get up in front of people, even when I was a kid, and, when you go to the board and in school, and turning red and being embarrassed. But now I do presentations every day at a residential program, and so it's kind of that transformation also reminded me in a good way, that kind of transformation, to be able to have that. And so thanks for that. So thanks for volunteering and being the guinea pig.